Hi dear students. Today we're going to see the chapter 2 in human resource management, which is about human resource planning. After this course, you will able to define human resource planning. You could explain the factors that affect human resource planning. And the last, you could explain human resource planning at the end of this chapter. Human resource planning is in general as a defined selection and organization of the most adequate method to achieve the goal. In another word, planning is known as the decisions and preparations made for the future. Human resource planning includes quantitative and qualitative analysis of the human resources, which is need for business based on the developments and changes in internal and external factors and the estimation for the organization of the employee movements. Human resource planning is the process of the periodical review of human resource requirements conducted to provide the required number of employees when is needed. Human resource planning can be defined as the process of predicting the workforce required by the business and organizing the tasks gradually. In this process, as a result, the issues that should be considered briefly included employment of right number of employees with the right qualifications at the right time and the place, ensure the organizational requirements. Human resource planning is concerned with flow of people through and out of an organization. Human resource planning also involves estimating need for labor. After estimation, right employees and skills are important for needs of organization. When we look at the factors affecting human resource planning, we could see external and internal factors. When we look at the human resource planning, we could say that this is a dynamic process that continuously collects data, processes, applies, and transfers them to required points. And internal and the external factors of organization have an impact on this process. It is important to conduct analyses the current and future trends of labor market in the human resource planning. Analyzes external factors significantly affect human resource planning, and the issues that needed to be analyzed are as follows. The personal characteristics such as age, gender, race, language, and education are important for organizations. For example, if the ratio of young population to the general population is less, the labor supply will be less in the future. Changing laws also is important in the organization for the external factors. It should be careful, organizations should be careful in the planning process. For example, changes in regulations for retirement age and term and services, severance payments, and employment of individuals with disabilities could be lead to planning revisions. Economic data are significant in human resource management too, planning too. Similar to several other fields, the national economy has great impact, especially on the supply and demand of human factors. Rapid developments and advances in technology affect the structural and functional qualities of the organizations and create the diversity in the production of goods and services. Due to these developments and advances, several jobs disappear and several new jobs and occupations could be emerge. Human resource planning requires the analysis of internal factors as well as external factors. This analysis process examines the strengths and weaknesses of organizational based on its external resources. For this purpose, initially, existing jobs are analyzed and the labor workforce inventory is developed. A detailed examination of current jobs in the organization creates the main task in the analysis of internal environment factors. In this task, the current jobs conducted in organizations, the relationships between the jobs and the number of employees required for the job are determined. Furthermore, this task produced information about the jobs required for the analysis that would be conducted with the employees on their skills. Organizational culture, which can be defined as the value, beliefs, and habits shared with an organization, is an internal environmental factor that significantly affects human resource management. It should be known that organizational culture is not invariant, especially for the external organization environment, because external environment changes would closely affect the organizational culture and thus the human resource management tasks, functions, and practices. Workforce skill inventory is a study that reflects the individual traits of existing employees, such as talents, skills, education, and experiences. To conduct an effective resources planning and meet the needs of employees within the framework of the plan requires possessing sufficient knowledge about quantity, skills, and potential of the existing human resources. When we look at the human resource planning, we should be careful about planning, human resource strategy, human resource demand, and supply. Collecting information is the first step for human resource planning. Planning activity is the most about forecasting about future and forecasting about information, which is a vital element for human resource. Therefore, without information, organizations cannot do any planning. Human resource planning depends on two types of different information: data from external and data from internal environment. External environment data contain economy, technology, compensation, labor markets, demographic and social trends. And each of them has an impact of human resource planning, workforce, also impact on business plans. Before planning, planners should be informed about unemployment rates of countries. The second type of information is internal information. This is inside of information about inside of organizations. The information about organizations. This contains short-term and long-term organizational plans and strategies. Both internal and external information help planners for forecasting future demand for employees. The final step in human resource planning is to plan particular programs. These programs requires recruiting plans, training, development, or career planning. Today, we'll learn what is human resource planning. After this chapter, we can explain the factors that affect human resource planning and also human resource planning model. We'll talk about chapter 3 after this end up this chapter, and the chapter 3 will be about recruitment and selection. Have a nice day.